Hola, necesitas sacar la hoja de vocabulario porque vamos a aprender ahora las nuevas palabras del vocabulario de Unidad 3, Lección 2. This vocab is going to deal with talking about items at a market and what items can be made of, as well as expressions of courtesy that you might use in a situation like a market. If you might accidentally bump into somebody, if you want to ask to see something. We already have learned some different expressions that we can use at a market, as well as expressions of courtesy. This is just a review of expressions that you should be familiar with. Asking how much something costs, you'd want to say cuánto cuesta if you're asking about a singular item, or cuánto cuestan if you're asking about plural items. You answer using the verb cuesta, cuestan, el dinero, el dólar, el euro. The verb pagar is an important verb, as well as the verb comprar, which isn't on this list, but still, it's an important verb to know when dealing with buying things. El precio. And then some expressions of courtesy, lo siento, perdón, and por favor. If any of these are new to you or you're not super familiar, feel free to go ahead and write these down as additional vocabulary that would be good to know during this lesson. Okay, ahora vamos a empezar con la primera palabra, los artículos. Los artículos significa goods. It can also mean articles, but in the context of shopping at a market, it's going to mean goods. Barato. Barato significa inexpensive or cheap. Do you remember how to say expensive? Expensive is caro with one R. La escultura. La escultura significa sculpture. Fino. Fino significa fine. Kind of like when something looks like it's good quality or it's expensive looking. Not like, hey, I'm doing okay, I'm doing fine. This is referring to the appearance and the quality of an item. And I just thought this was funny, so I wanted to share it. Una ganga. Una ganga significa bargain. La pintura. La pintura significa painting. El retrato. El retrato significa portrait. Who is this a portrait of? Do you recognize this super famous Mexican artist? Hopefully, the unibrow gave it away. It's Frida Kahlo. She painted herself a lot. Único. Único significa unique. Hecho a mano. Hecho a mano by itself means handmade, and estar hecho a mano means to be handmade. Ser de cerámica. Ser de cerámica significa to be made of ceramic. Ser de cuero. Ser de cuero significa to be made of leather. Ser de madera. Ser de madera significa to be made of wood. Ser de metal. Ser de metal significa to be made of metal. Ser de oro. Ser de oro significa to be made of gold. I think I should get a grill. I think that would go over really well when I'm teaching. Ser de piedra. Ser de piedra significa to be made of stone. Piedra can also refer to rock. Ser de plata. Ser de plata significa to be made of silver. Con mucho gusto. Con mucho gusto significa with pleasure. Con permiso. Con permiso significa excuse me. De nada. Hopefully you know that de nada is what you say after someone says gracias to you. De nada significa you're welcome. Disculpe. Disculpe significa excuse me or I'm sorry. No hay de qué. No hay de qué significa don't mention it. Pase. Pase significa go ahead. Obviously, there is a cat theme this vocabulary video, which is ironic because I don't really like cats. Perdóneme. Perdóneme significa forgive me. Me deja ver. Me deja ver significa may I see. After the ... or the ellipses, you would probably mention an article, un artículo, or something in a store that you wanted to see. This is definitely a phrase you would use when interacting with someone selling something. Now, what's pretty awesome about Unidad 3 Lección 2 is that there's not a whole lot of new words. The vocab's pretty short this chapter. I did want to show you, though, that there are some other words that we can use when talking about buying things at the market, as well as asking for help. This is una expansión de vocabulario. You're not required to know these words, but you might hear me using them. They also maybe could be extra credit on a quiz or a test. So if you want to write them down, by all means, go ahead and write them down. I definitely think words like en venta, on sale, el comprador, the buyer, el vendedor, the seller, those are really good words to know. El puesto, the stand. I mean, we're talking about marketplaces. So if any of these words you want to go ahead and write down to expand your vocabulary, I definitely would recommend doing that. Don't forget to take the Google quiz now that you've finished writing down your vocab.